Hello, BookTube. I thought I would make a video signal boosting, as the kids say, the announcement videos that I'm sure you've already seen in your subscription feed for Victober 2024. One of the greatest of all BookTube events. An event for this month, throughout the whole month of October, celebrating Victorian literature. It's the brainchild of Katie at Books and Things, and the co-hosts this time around are Kate Howe and Blatantly Bookish, and Roz from Scallydandling About the Books. And for the purposes of Victober, the parameters are for what counts is a book that was written or published between 1837 and 1901. In other words, the reign of Micah Cummins' girlfriend, Queen Victoria, in either England or Ireland. Now, I myself, when I reflexively think of the sobriquet of Victorian, I think of a wider spectrum. I like to think of it a little bit more organically than just the years of Victoria's reign, because to me that seems to locate a lot of the impetus on Victoria, and I'm not sure that she really cared or knew about a lot of the things that we're celebrating in Victober. But I tend to think of it as the longer, so-called longer Victorian era, where the beginning of it is not just the first Great Reform Bill, the expansion of the franchise, but also the huge collective sigh of relief that the entire Western world took upon the defeat and expungement of Napoleon Bonaparte. So that deep cleansing breath, that sense of possibilities, of open seas again, of free travel again, all that sort of stuff, it took a while for that to percolate through to the zeitgeist, but to my mind, that started flourishing. That started being the air that people breathed in both America and England and Ireland, even during the reign of the so-called wicked uncles. I would put the beginning of the Victorian era at the defeat of Napoleon. And I would put the end of the Victorian era at the death of Victoria's son and heir, King Edward VII. My guy, King Edward VII, who, during his brief reign on the throne, was related to almost all the rulers in Europe by either blood or marriage, who knew them all, had personal relationships with them, and could still, in his own person, conduct diplomacy state to state by doing it person to person. It could go to France and change the diplomatic environment between England and France. Himself could do this. It's true that while he was doing that, Parliament was still his boss. No one, especially Micah Cummins, likes to think it, but Parliament was Victoria's boss as well. But nevertheless, there was a preserved illusion. For the long Victorian era, it was a constitutional monarchy, and the Constitution was a tiny little asterisk thing, and the monarchy was in big bright letters. Now, the Constitution is in big bright letters, monarchy. Now it's a constitutional monarchy. But then, and only then, it ended then, it was a monarchy that was undergirded by a constitution. For good or ill. There are a lot of ills that you could say that would go along with that. There are a lot of ills with Edward being an emperor, for instance, and being the leader of a gigantic empire. There are positives to that as well, but you absolutely can't talk about that in 2024. I can on this channel, but you absolutely can't talk about lifting millions of people out of poverty, lifting millions of people out of disease, easily preventable disease and squalor, giving millions of people education, a larger degree of freedom, a larger degree of representation in some form of legal system where your rights were not determined by how good a friend you were with the Raja's younger brother. You're not allowed to talk about any of that, so we won't. Instead, we'll just talk about that personal rule. The sense that kings and queens could reach out and change things. And almost immediately in the wake, first of all, Edward was succeeded by a very small man. The illusion would have been shattered anyway, but also Edward was also succeeded in very short order by modernity, by World War I, and a whole generation dying in the fields of France, and then the Great Depression, and then World War II, an unthinkable catastrophe that had not been anywhere in the Victorian radar. And after that, a brand new world. After that, uh, no more empire, no more huge sway, no more of that personal element involved at all. It was all statesmen after that, and diplomats. God help us all. But that's just me. And also, when I'm talking about the Victorian era, I'm also including America, which just seems to be verboten. Nobody wants to do that, even Victorian fans. So we will just, for Victober, we will just stick to Queen Victoria's reign, 1837 to 1901. And there's a hashtag. If you make Victober content this October, definitely include the hashtag so that everybody involved with the event can see what you're doing. And there's also a Discord server, and you'll find out why. We'll talk about why the Discord server is extra important this time around. There are challenges, reading challenges. I am sure that I second the sentiments of everyone involved with the creation and maintenance of Victober when I say you can ignore the challenges if you want. If you read just one work that was written or published during the Victorian era, you have participated in Victober, and boy, oh boy, you have a lot of great stuff to choose from. But it doesn't matter how enterprising you are at all. You want to read Bram Stoker's Dracula for the 100th time? Fine. You've participated in Victober. But there are challenges. Challenge number one is to read something that involves religion, which is exceedingly easy to do in Victorian literature. Exceedingly easy to do. I think it was Kate Howe in one of her videos that made the excellent point that pretty much you can just dispense with this, because whether your book deals with religion or not, your author certainly did. So you're pretty much de facto covering this point. Then the next challenge is a book that plays around with the standard narrative form of some kind or other. Here, the prompts seem to be going for imaginative literature rather than nonfiction. So you can stick to that. There are plenty of Victorian novels and dramas and short stories and whatnot that do play around with standard forms. Then the third reading challenge is also very easy to do. You're almost by default going to be doing it, and that is to read something that was originally serialized. And again, I think it was Kate Howe that made the very excellent point. Somebody connected with Victober makes it every year, which is that a lot of Victorian literature was serialized. It was produced in installments for an age that did not have radio, did not have television, did not have the internet, a slower, deeper, more concentrated attention span. And that maybe reading these things that way improves them. I happen to think myself that it does enormously improve them. And then the fourth challenge is to read or experience a Victorian drama. The Victorians were absolutely nuts for the stage. They didn't produce all that many world-class, gigantically fantastic, immortal works of drama, even though they were nuts for the stage. But the plays can still be extremely good, and also an element that's often forgotten about Victorian stage drama, exceedingly funny. So find one of them, maybe on Audible, or maybe YouTube has an audio recording or even a visual recording of something, some London play, that would be wonderful. Experience that for the fourth challenge. Although keep in mind, you can ignore all of these challenges. You don't need to participate in any of them. And there are two extra challenges here. One is to read something by Wilkie Collins, anything by Wilkie Collins. And the other is to read anything by Arthur Conan Doyle. And it's a melancholy reason why these two things are here. Jennifer Brooks, booktuber that we lost this year, a big fan of Victober and a huge fan of Wilkie Collins. So that's why the Wilkie Collins challenge or prompt is there if you want it. And the same thing is true with Alice and the Giant Bookshelf, another booktuber we lost, another ardent fan of Victober, who was a huge fan of Arthur Conan Doyle, especially the Sherlock Holmes stories. And the creators of Victober, the host this time around, thought it would be a nice little tribute to include these kinds of hat-doffing challenges to two big fans of Victober who aren't here anymore. And just That still doesn't seem real. That just doesn't seem real. And I have to say, it's a melancholy reason for including these prompts, but it's also part of what makes Victober one of the best booktube events of them all. What a sweet, wonderful gesture. Just a sweet, wonderful gesture to do. And then, in addition to that, to all of this, there's also a group read. Mary Elizabeth Braddon's book, The Doctor's Wife, is the group read. And the group read is being conducted on the aforementioned Discord. So I'll leave a link to a whole bunch of videos so that you can go and watch all the announcement videos and get all the links that you need to whatever you want to do, in case you want to join in on the discussion. I think for The Doctor's Wife, you probably have to read 2 or 3 chapters a day. It's not rough going at all. And if you do that, if you're keeping up, well, then you'll have the Discord. You'll have a whole bunch of invested people to talk about it with. Sounds like a lot of fun. So Victober. I've been meaning to make Victober videos since the month started. Just the month has got away from me. I myself do not usually set TBRs for booktube events like this. But I think I know what I want to do. I think I want to read, or reread really, book criticism from the era. Book essays for the Edinburgh Review or the Quarterly Review or whatnot. Book criticism, book reviews for the newspapers. A whole bunch of those are collected. I think I want to do that, but I did a lot of that last year, so maybe not. Maybe I will actually... I miss Jennifer Brooks, same as everybody. So maybe I will use this Victober to try to like Wilkie Collins. I don't know. I don't know if I will or not. I don't know whether it's a tribute to Jennifer that I would try to like Wilkie Collins for this year, or maybe a slap to Jennifer if I try to like him and don't. So I don't know which to do, but the month is still young, so I have plenty of time to get involved in Victober. I get involved in Victober anyway. I read, those of you who are new to my channel, I read mostly new releases in the American book market, so not even the UK book market. Mostly new releases. Which means that usually in the work side of my reading, I am not reading anything from the Victorian era. But, oh my God, there's nothing better that I like than that to break up a string of bad new releases. I have on my iBooks account, the Apple iBooks book reader, I have a whole folder full of downloads from Project Gutenberg of books from the Victorian era, all sorts of unknown or forgotten figures that I have loved and read and learned a lot from. Project Gutenberg is a gold mine for Victober, absolutely. If you can deal with e-reading, it's a gold mine. So I'm... Oh. Hey, baby. How you doing? Oh. So there are miniature schnauzers in the Victorian era? I don't remember. You're going to have to come down here, little girl. Your chair is covered in stuff. Just come down next to me. There you go. Oh. Oh, no, baby. There's no room over there. You can look and see there's no room. What are you going to do? You can't go over there, Frida. Oh, baby. Oh, goodness. You are so stubborn. I don't know where she gets that. Anyway, I'm going to go rescue all the stuff that's over there. I tossed stuff over to her chair. I wasn't thinking that she would want to go there. So anyway, that's Victober for this year. Hope you join in, even a little. You'll find once you start into the habit of the Victorians that they really are habit making. So anyway, I'll wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.